Gentlemen, listen closely, because what I'm about to tell you may shock you. At your age, one single mistake made in the moments right after masturbation can do more harm to your body than you realize. It can silently weaken your erections, lower your testosterone, and even increase your risk of prostate problems. I have seen men lose years of vitality because they ignored this vulnerable window. That's how serious it is. My name is Dr. Mohit Kara. I am a professor of urology and a men's health specialist, and for over 30 years I've dedicated my career to helping men protect their testosterone, preserve their erections, and enjoy intimacy well into their senior years. I've treated thousands of men over 60, and I can tell you with certainty, the difference between staying strong or slipping into decline often comes down to what you do immediately after release. Now, here's the paradox. Most men believe masturbation itself is the problem. But the truth is, the act isn't what damages you. It's what you do afterward. That's where the danger hides, and it's why so many men unknowingly sabotage themselves. That's why today, I'm going to reveal the 5 things you should never do after masturbation. 5 mistakes that can shorten your stamina, age your body faster, and damage your prostate health if you're not careful. And stay with me until the end, because the last mistake I'll share is the most dangerous of all. The one that has left countless men struggling silently, never realizing the cause. Before we get started, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss another important health lesson designed for men in their 60s and beyond. And if this message speaks to you, let me know in the comments. Type 1 if you find it helpful, or 0 if you'd like me to improve and bring you even better content. Let's begin with the very first mistake, and it's one I see most often in men your age. Right after release, the body naturally wants to shut down and drift into sleep, but giving in too quickly can silently drain your energy, weaken your circulation, and harm your erections over time. Mistake number 1, falling asleep immediately after masturbation. I want to start with the most common mistake, one I've seen countless men make in my clinic, and one that I myself, as a younger man, once thought was harmless. After release, the body feels heavy, the eyes grow tired, and that wave of drowsiness almost demands you collapse into bed. It feels natural, even comforting. But here's the truth many men over 60 don't realize. Giving into that urge and falling asleep right away can slowly chip away at your energy, your stamina, and your erections. Let me explain what happens inside your body. After orgasm, the hormone prolactin surges. It's the same hormone that signals your brain to rest, to stop, to recover. And while that hormone makes you feel relaxed, it also slows blood circulation. Now, imagine what that means for a man in his 60s, a time when blood vessels are already less elastic and the heart doesn't push blood as forcefully as it once did. The very moment when your body needs help flushing out toxins and restoring balance, you cut off that chance by drifting into sleep. The result is that waste products linger longer in your system, your testosterone rebounds more slowly, and your baseline energy level drops the following day. That fatigue you sometimes feel when you wake up, the lack of motivation, the sense that your get up and go has vanished, can often be traced back to this simple act of collapsing into bed too soon. I've had patients come to me saying, "Doc, I don't understand why I feel so drained the next day. It's just one release." And I look at them and say, it's not just the release, it's the way you treat your body afterward. Because when you repeat this habit over and over, your body begins to adapt in the wrong direction. It learns to function at a lower level of testosterone. It accepts sluggish circulation as the new normal, and your erections slowly lose their strength. What feels like harmless rest in the moment is, in reality, a slow and quiet erosion of vitality. The solution isn't complicated, but it requires a shift in discipline. Instead of letting sleep swallow you immediately, give yourself just 5 to 10 minutes. Take a gentle walk around the house, stretch your arms and legs, drink a glass of water, or simply practice deep breathing. These small actions tell your body to finish what it started, to clear out toxins, to pump blood more effectively, and to begin restoring testosterone. Think of it as a cool down after exercise. You wouldn't run on a treadmill and then drop to the ground without catching your breath, so why would you do that to your sexual health? And here's the empowering part. Once men over 60 begin adopting this change, the feedback is often immediate. They report clearer minds the next morning, a little more spring in their step, and over time, stronger and more reliable erections. It's proof that even small choices at this stage of life can still make a powerful difference. Now, if falling asleep right away can cause this much damage over time, imagine what happens when you shock your body in the opposite direction. Because the second mistake men make after release seems innocent, even refreshing, but it quietly harms the very tissues that give you an erection. And that mistake is taking a cold shower too soon. Mistake number 2, taking a cold shower right away. The second mistake is one that surprises many men, because on the surface, it feels like the healthy, refreshing thing to do. After release, when the body feels warm and a little drained, many men think jumping straight into a cold shower will wake them up, wash away the fatigue, and reset their energy. I've heard men tell me, "Doc, I always finish with a cold shower. It makes me feel alive again." But here's the truth, and it may come as a shock, that habit could be silently undermining your erections, your blood flow, and your confidence as a man. Let's step inside the body for a moment. After orgasm, your blood vessels are wide open, the nerves are relaxed, the tissues are more vulnerable, and your entire system is in what I call a recovery phase. Now picture what happens when you suddenly hit that delicate state with icy cold water. Your blood vessels, which had just dilated, constrict in a flash. The circulation that should be restoring nutrients and oxygen to your sexual organs slows to a crawl. Instead of helping your body recover, you've just created a shock that pushes blood away from where it's needed most. Over the years, I've had patients in their 60s and 70s sit across from me and whisper something they were almost too embarrassed to admit. "Doc, I think I'm shrinking down there." And while there are many factors that contribute to that feeling, repeated cold exposure after release is one of the hidden culprits. The tissues lose elasticity, the erections don't feel as strong, and what once was a symbol of power begins to feel like a fading shadow of itself. That's not just physical, it weighs heavily on a man's mind and spirit. I'll be honest, I know this mistake personally. When I was younger, I thought a cold shower was the fastest way to wake up after sex or masturbation. It felt tough, almost like I was proving something to myself. But I learned that the body doesn't see it as strength, it sees it as stress. And for older men, with blood vessels already less forgiving, the damage can be even greater. So what should you do instead? The answer is surprisingly simple. Skip the icy shock and choose warmth. A mild, warm shower helps blood continue to flow freely, keeps the muscles relaxed, and supports recovery rather than interrupting it. Think of warm water as your ally, gently guiding your body back to balance instead of slamming the brakes on circulation. Men who make this change often tell me they notice a difference quickly. Erections feel fuller, recovery is faster, and there's a sense of comfort rather than tension. If a cold shower can do this much harm in just a few minutes, imagine what happens when men add fuel to the fire with the wrong choices afterward, grabbing junk food, alcohol, or even a cigarette. That's the third mistake, and it may be the one that speeds up aging faster than any of the others. Mistake number 3, reaching for junk food, alcohol, or cigarettes. This third mistake is one I see more often than I'd like to admit, and it cuts deep because it feels so familiar to so many men. After release, when your body is in that vulnerable state, there's an almost automatic pull toward comfort. Something salty, something sweet, a glass of whiskey, or maybe a cigarette to calm the nerves. I've had countless men in their 60s tell me, "Doc, after I finish, I just want a slice of pizza or a drink." It helps me relax, and I look them in the eye and tell them, that comfort is costing you more than you realize. Because in that moment, your body isn't asking for junk, it's asking for recovery. Let's break down what's really happening. After ejaculation, dopamine levels fall, testosterone dips, and your nervous system is in a delicate balance. This is the exact point when your body needs nutrients, hydration, and time to restore itself. But when you hand it processed carbs, nicotine, or alcohol, you stack stress upon stress. The blood sugar spikes, the hormones crash harder, and your body starts producing more estrogen relative to testosterone. For a man over 60, this is the perfect storm. That extra belly fat that seems impossible to lose? Those sluggish mornings that make you feel older than your years, that creeping lack of desire in the bedroom, they're often fueled by this very cycle. I'll share something I'll never forget. Years ago, I treated a gentleman in his late 60s who came in desperate for answers. He complained of constant fatigue, low drive, and weaker erections. We tested his hormones, and sure enough, his testosterone was at rock bottom. When I asked about his habits, he admitted that every time he finished, he grabbed chips and a beer to wind down. It wasn't occasional, it was routine. And that routine was silently draining him. Once he swapped the beer and chips for a glass of water and a handful of almonds, within weeks his energy lifted, his mood steadied, and his performance improved. It was living proof of how small choices in those fragile moments can create huge differences. And I understand the emotional side too. Sometimes food or alcohol isn't about taste. It's about trying to mask guilt, loneliness, or boredom. But covering those feelings with substances doesn't heal them. It only deepens the cracks. What your body truly craves after release is restoration, not punishment. Imagine how much better you'd feel if instead of processed junk, you chose a bowl of fruit, a cup of herbal tea, or simply water. Instead of feeding fatigue, you'd be feeding recovery. I tell my patients all the time, you can't control time, but you can control how you fuel your body. At 60 and beyond, that choice matters more than ever. And here's the catch. While food and drink are obvious temptations, there's another danger that's less visible, but just as destructive. It lives in the mind, in the way men talk to themselves after release. That hidden enemy is guilt and overthinking, and it may be the most underestimated mistake of them all. Mistake number 4, guilt and overthinking. This fourth mistake isn't something you put into your body. It's something that lives inside your mind. And for many men over 60, it can be even more damaging than junk food or alcohol. I've sat with men in my office who could barely look me in the eye, whispering with shame in their voices, "Doc, I still do it sometimes, but afterward I feel dirty. I feel like I've done something wrong." Those words break my heart because I know that shame doesn't come from biology. It comes from years of society telling men that self-pleasure is weak, sinful, or something to hide. And at this stage in life, guilt becomes a heavy weight that pushes down on your hormones, your energy, and even your sense of identity as a man. Here's what happens inside the body when guilt and negative self-talk take over. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes. Every time cortisol goes up, testosterone goes down. The very hormone that fuels your desire, your erections, and your vitality gets smothered under the weight of shame. I've seen men spiral into a cycle. They release, they feel guilt, the stress builds, the urge grows stronger, and then they repeat the act not out of joy, but out of pressure. And the guilt deepens. It's a cycle that steals not just physical strength, but also peace of mind. I understand this more deeply than you might think. When I was a younger man in medical training, I too carried the messages from my upbringing, messages that whispered it was wrong to touch myself. And I remember how heavy that guilt felt, how it clouded my mind, how it made me question my own discipline. It wasn't until I studied men's health in depth that I realized the truth. Masturbation in moderation is natural. The problem is not the act, it's the shame that comes afterward, the mental prison that turns something normal into something destructive. That's why I tell my patients, you have a choice. You can let guilt erode your confidence, weaken your testosterone, and trap you in a cycle, or you can break free. When the guilt comes, don't sit in it. Get up and move your body. Take a short walk, write a few thoughts in a journal, or close your eyes and breathe deeply for 5 minutes. These small actions tell your brain you're not trapped, that you're in control, and they reset your hormones back toward balance. And here's the powerful truth. When men let go of guilt, they often feel lighter, calmer, and more confident in every part of life. Their erections improve, not just because of blood flow, but because their minds are no longer fighting against them. Guilt is an invisible enemy, and overcoming it is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself at this age. But while the mind can weaken you with guilt, there is another mistake that does even more harm physically, because it strikes directly at the core of your prostate health. It's the temptation to go back for more, to chase that feeling one more time, and that habit, back-to-back masturbation, is the most dangerous of all. Mistake number 5, back-to-back masturbation. Now we arrive at the mistake that does the most damage, yet it's the one many men quietly repeat without realizing the price they're paying. Back-to-back masturbation might feel like giving yourself just a little more pleasure, a second round to prove you still can, but in truth it puts enormous strain on a body that already needs time to recover. After one release, testosterone and dopamine naturally fall. Your prostate, your nerves, and your blood vessels all enter a recovery state. When you push your body to go again too soon, you double the recovery time, you force your prostate to work harder, and you risk inflaming the very gland that protects your urinary and sexual health. I've listened to men in their 60s and 70s confess that they noticed something strange. The first time felt strong, but the second time felt weak, almost empty. They worried that they were losing it. And I had to gently explain that it wasn't a mystery at all. It was their body telling them to slow down, to respect the natural limits of recovery. Back-to-back sessions don't prove strength, they actually chip away at it. Over the years, that constant pressure can lead to prostatitis, enlargement, and weaker erections that no pill can fully restore. The answer, as simple as it sounds, is discipline. Give your body a window, 24 to 48 hours, to heal, to restore testosterone, to allow your prostate to relax. That patience is what protects your strength for the long run. And if you think these 5 mistakes are harmless, remember this. Small choices, repeated over time, can shape the quality of the years you still have ahead. Which brings me to the most important part, how to bring it all together, and what simple changes will keep your erections, your testosterone, and your prostate strong well into the future. Conclusion. Gentlemen, now you've heard the 5 things you should never do after masturbation, and I hope you understand why they matter so deeply. Falling asleep right away may feel harmless, but it slowly drains your energy and lowers your testosterone. Jumping into a cold shower might seem refreshing, but it shocks your blood vessels and weakens circulation where you need it most. Reaching for junk food, alcohol, or cigarettes gives you comfort in the moment, but it steals your vitality and replaces it with fatigue and low desire. Letting guilt and overthinking take over poisons your mind, raising stress and lowering testosterone until you feel trapped in a cycle. And finally, chasing back-to-back release puts a heavy burden on your prostate and robs your erections of their strength over time. I've spent decades as a doctor, sitting across from men in their 60s and 70s who wished someone had told them these truths earlier. I've seen the frustration in their eyes when they realized how much of their decline could have been prevented by making different choices. And I've also seen the joy on men's faces when they took these lessons seriously, when they stayed active after release, chose warm showers, reached for healthy food, practiced self-compassion, and gave themselves time to recover. Those men felt younger, more confident, and more in control of their bodies again. You may not be able to change the past, but starting today, you can change the future. These 5 mistakes don't have to define you. You can choose discipline, you can choose health, and you can choose to protect your manhood for years to come. Because at this age, it's not about chasing youth, it's about building strength, energy, and intimacy that lasts.